Hello, hello. Welcome. How are you today? Hello, Michaela. Welcome. Just finishing setting up this. Okay, everything is ready. Welcome, Divine Being. This is the True Self Talk that happen every Tuesday and Thursdays, where the goal is not to bring you any more absolute truths, but rather to open space for new perceptions so our questions can change. I am Ella Morello, and this is episode number 75. It's called The Technique for You to Be Who You Are Without Guilt. In other words, how to commit to yourself. And before we start, I want to remind you about my spirituality and self-knowledge free online workshops that happens a couple of times a year. These are opportunities that I found to contribute to your healing journey free of charge, besides all the talks that we do here. So just stay tuned on the social media channels so you don't miss this gift whenever they are available. So, how to commit to ourselves without feeling guilty? Well, a lot of us human beings know all about commitment. We commit to hiding or exaggerating our flaws. We commit to trying to make others happy and comfortable at the expense of our happiness and comfort. We commit to supporting others people's dreams in expense of our own dreams. We commit to criticizing ourselves and others a lot of times in every turn. So basically, if you think about it, we commit to who we think you should be rather than committing to who we are in this moment. Once again, we commit to who we think we should be rather than committing to who we are right now. Let this sink in a little bit and try to see how this resonates with you. You know, it's really common that we commit to seeing ourselves through the eyes of other people. So we measure our self-worth based on their acceptance rather than truly witnessing our unique inner beauty. We do that. We commit also to being nice rather than being real. How? We say yes when we want to say no. We commit also to be right rather to being vulnerable. You know that feeling that you have every time you get into a topic with someone or you enter into a discussion. And there is this feeling that maybe it's even unconscious and you don't realize, but you have to be right. You have to prove your point. We rather be right. So, by the way, if you want to understand why this happened, watch the live that I talk. Yes, I love my ego. I'll tell you the number of this live in a second. I have to remember. But then we went deeper. Why do we do that? We went a little bit deeper to understand. So, we rather be right than being vulnerable. Okay, this is connected to our ego. Also, we do this a lot. When people in our lives don't behave the way we think they should behave, we feel a big internal pain. Or even worse, we commit to revenge. We commit to get even. But the crazy part about this is whenever we want to get even, we're actually drinking a poison, expecting the other to die. So that's something interesting. Let's see of how many more things we commit to without not even knowing we are making this commitment daily. So let's go back. If the person in our lives don't behave the way we think they should behave, somehow it's super easy for us to justify our emotional outbursts or bad behaviors based on the actions of others. Because you did that to me, then I did this. And in doing so, once again, we are not hurting the other, we are hurting us. Right? So remember that I tell you here all the time that the path of self-knowledge and this path that I propose here to the true self is a path. Is not a line to be reached. So I want to give you a personal example about, well, Fernanda just told me here, thank you, Fernanda, the life of the ego that I was suggesting is number 65. Okay. Okay. I wanted to give you a personal example. So whenever we justify our emotional outbursts or bad behaviors based on the actions of others, okay, I want to give you a personal example. So as I told you here, we are on a path. It's not a line to be crossed. So when I talk to you about small breakthroughs, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So for example, last week, I have been trying to have this conversation with this person. I have expressed in the best of my abilities a couple of times that something bothers me. For example, the lack of organization. Okay, it's something that I can deal. I am flexible. However, it's something that truly bothers me when it happens all the time. Right? So you are here and then plans change. No one tell you anything. And then you plan your whole schedule around that commitment that you have made with the other person, and then the other person lets you know in the last minute that that's not going to happen. So this is something that frustrates me, right? And I have explained in many different occasions in different ways, and this has not changed in my relationship with this person. So what happened? I had a plan for Saturday. It was something like this. And I was going to work actually the whole Saturday, and I was going to be part of a study group on Sunday, right? So I know that person counts on me on the weekends. And what this part of myself, this part that I am committed to unconsciously, told me right here, the little voice in my head, like, you know what? Now is the time for you to show this person how it feels. Because now this person is going to be waiting for you in the weekend because you're always available on weekends, but you're not going to be available this weekend. Being honest with you, I was able to realize, to catch myself wanting to do that. And I had to tell myself, Ella, I am seeing that your lower self, or whatever name you want to give, wants a little revenge, wants the other to see, because maybe if he feels what I am saying, maybe he's going to change. So I was committed to exactly what we just said here. I wanted to be right? I wanted to prove a point, even though this is something like super little. When I caught myself in that, I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do the opposite of this. And then I called this person on Friday and I said, listen, I need to tell you something. Don't count on me on Saturday and Sunday because I won't be available. I will be working. And in doing to the other person what I would like that person to do with me and not the opposite is an internal breakthrough that I'm telling you about. This was a small breakthrough to me. I was able to catch myself attached to this idea, right? Or this behavior. And I consciously chose to do it differently. That's how we transpose our ego, one way. The life of the ego that Fernanda told us is number 65 or 67. 65, I think I already told you, right? Yeah, I'm not good with numbers. Anyways, there we explain a little bit better about transposing our ego. So for the sake of this talk, I just wanted to share with you what I mean about small breakthroughs, right? So realize what you are committed to. Are you committed to being right? Are you committed to proving your points? And then you believe that your bad behavior or emotional outburst is actually caused by the other person. That's why I gave you this example. Make sense? Okay. So here's the thing. Whenever we give others the power to push our emotional buttons, remember, the other person is simply pushing a button, a trigger you already have inside, right? So when we give this power, we believe we're giving this power to the other person. We become their slaves, often without realizing it. And the problem is, once again, we are the ones who suffer. Look how easy it is for us to get into this negative cycle. So, what is the first step in our journey to the true self? Well, it's committing to ourselves. And this first step is designed to close the gap between rejection and self acceptance, between thinking and being, and between wishing and becoming. To reach that, once again, we need to make a new commitment to our own selves. And I'm going to explain to you what are the commitments you are doing, most of the times unconsciously, and how you can create new commitments. So, the idea, and here is the important, I think the important insight of this talk is this commitment that I'm inviting you to make with yourself will show you it's not like it will show you that this is not a hidden treasure that you have to look for, or that this is a savior that is going to come from the outside. We are the treasures we're looking for. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Or like or how I like to say, you are your own medicine. Okay? Your commitment to this idea, I am my own medicine. I am the one I'm looking for. Your commitment to this idea is actually the activation of your inner power. And think with me, when your words, your thoughts, and your actions are fostered in self abuse or self judgment, you are actually using your immense power against yourself. And no one in the right mind would do that, right? Wrong. We do that every single day of our lives. And why? Because we are unconscious about who we truly are. So how this, like, what are the types of emotional, mental, and physical denials? How do we see this in our lives? Well, when we say no, when we say yes, wanting to say no, when we are in a relationship that doesn't nourish us, when we allow ourselves to think and believe thoughts that are not empowered thoughts, they are actually draining your energy and enthusiasm. When we eat food that we know it doesn't serve our body well, and so on. So committing to your true self is committing to your authentic self. And remember, once again, this is a lifelong journey of living in authenticity. Okay? It's like, remember the onion that I have told you about a couple of times, right? An onion, you always have another layer to peel that onion. And in each peeling, most of the times, okay, sometimes this peeling of the onion will be accompanied by tears. Just remember that every time you peel the onion, when you're peeling an extra onion, you might cry, right? But then you might gonna cook. You're gonna end up with a beautiful food. This is the same thing. You are peeling your internal onion to get to your true self. You might have tears, right? But but every time you're willing to look within, You're going to be grateful that you are in this work. Because every time something comes to your consciousness that arise in your field of awareness, that's a tool for you to discover who you truly are. We're going to get a little bit more into details here so you can understand exactly what I'm saying. But as I have committed to this work more than a decade ago, and I have committed and worked on myself to release these old habits of I need to be liked by everyone, or I need to be saved, or I should be already doing that. All these matrices inside of me, I have been amazed of how deeply this pattern was woven into my being. I was constantly thinking and feeling that without even knowing, without even being aware of that. Okay, so that's the reason why we peel the onion. As I say here, the work is not around the pain, is not around the challenge, it's actually through it that we are able to keep evolving. And don't get me wrong, like when you do this work, as I said, this is a lifelong process. When you do this work, you're going to start having small breakthroughs until a big breakthrough happens in your life. So it is from changing within that we see the outside reality manifested differently. Okay, so don't be in a rush. Don't think that you should be anywhere rather than where you are. That's the commitment you're making to yourself today, accepting, but truly accepting where you are today and looking where you want to get, where you are headed. What is your goal? And understand that this is a process to take you there. And remember, surely life will throw something at you again and again. But as you keep learning, you keep evolving and spiraling up. It's not that life is stopped throwing you challenges. You might feel exactly these old commitments once in a while. But what is the difference? Well, before you're uh, feeling these old commitments, you were not aware of these commitments and you kept repeating this, even though this was bad for you. Then the second step is you became aware of these commitments and you start creating new commitments. So what happens next? Whenever you see yourself trapped in old commitments, you are aware, it's quicker. You look and you're like, okay, just like the example I gave you, I was able to see that I was committed to old beliefs. Then I was able to discern, not from an emotional point of view, but rather from, why am I going to get this from? Am I going to be right? Am I going to prove my point? Yes, maybe. But that does not take me anywhere. It's a much bigger gain for me to be able to, even though I want to do this, choose differently. And that's how I keep empowering myself. That's more or less the path. Okay? I guess my internet. Okay, I think we're back. So I just want to say that when you do that, at some point, and again, if you're still not grateful for the obstacle and the challenges, don't tell yourself, but you should know that this is good for your evolution and you should already be there. You should nothing. Okay? You should accept where you are right now. However, with time, all the time, and doesn't matter how long it takes, at some point, you will be able to look within and be grateful for every experience, for every obstacle, for every learning. Because now we have learned how to use everything that arises in your favor to tap into this power. And this power starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so the keystone of committing to yourself is very simple. You just have to put into practice, which, once again, all you need to do is to decide. Learn how to love who you are, your flaws and your qualities. Like I like to say, your light and your shadow, you're whole. You're not just light, okay? You are whole. We live in this dualistic plane. If you want to dive deeper into how looking at your shadows can transform your life, I want to invite you to watch talk number 16 and 17, that I talk and explain a lot about the difference and how to work with our shadows and our light. Okay. Well, just keeping in mind that doing this can be difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to require effort. First, you're going to decide, you're going to choose, and then you're going to be vigilant. It will require your effort. Okay. But also understand that your commitment to yourself is going to be to the same extent that you are willing to release the past and any ideas that you are holding that you should be different than what you are in this moment. So, what I mean is, our deepest healing occurs when we learn how to be our own best friends, when we are our best cheerleader, when we are our companions. Okay, let me put this in an example so you might understand what I mean, or how we can recommit to ourselves. Uh, okay, the year I don't remember the year exact, but the year I have released my first online course, it was in Portuguese. Okay, it has been a couple of years ago. I don't even remember. And it was about a journey, was a course, an online journey specifically for women, where we were learning about the moon phases, and especially about the moons within our body as a tool of self-knowledge and self-development, really, because we would do the moon mandala to understand us, and then we would use this tool in order to harmonize the cyclicality in our life, how to embrace all these women that live inside of us, how different we are. Anyways, this was what the course was about, was in Portuguese many years ago. And I remember I have worked so hard in this course, literally for 9 months, not even a joke, because whenever like it was ready, so I created the whole content, then I recorded, then I edited, then I made sure all the exercises were good enough online, because I used to do that in person, right? But they were like good enough online for me to be able to make the person, for the person to see the real changes in her life. So, anyways, it was 9 months that I worked night and day to create this course. So, whenever I released that course and I put that course to sell, it was like I have gave birth. And I did give birth to my project that I nourished, that I have went through all the phases, right? Anyways, when that happened, I felt joy, I felt accomplished, I felt proud of myself, I felt I was doing finally something. It was like that little hope that I was finally going to work with something that I truly believed, with my purpose in life and so on. And life knows exactly what's going on, because no one is here on vacation. So, what life did to me in that exact week, my life turned upside down. So, not to extend myself here, I my long term relationship ended. My dog was diagnosed with cancer. I received a message, a call from my lawyer saying that he was super sorry, but my visa got denied because he forgot to tell me I had to show up on an interview all in the same week. And to make it simple, not to get into details, I realized that all the money that I thought I had was somehow stolen. So the feeling was that I was being gifted by the universe this beautiful, creative thing that was giving me so much joy, and I was so proud. And in the same moment that I was receiving this gift, someone went there and cut my leg, and I did not know how to stop the bleeding. That's truly how I felt. Interesting enough, um, I Well, if I'm being honest, I got paralyzed for some time, you know. And now I can tell you this, that now I understand when I look back that things happen exactly in the way that they should have happened. Because if each of these things that I told you that happened in that week has happened with a bigger space in time, I know my strength. I know I have been doing this work for so long. I would be able to deal with these little situations differently because it all happened at once. I felt lost. I felt I couldn't move. And when I felt in that place, like not knowing how on earth would I be able to be on the talks with the people that have bought my course if I was nuts, if I was in extreme pain, if I didn't know what was the next step. And now I know that that happened exactly at once because if not, I would have not surrendered. Because usually, when we are in the end of the hole, when you look and you're like, man, I'm gonna die from this, is when you truly surrender. And it was when I surrendered that I remember, Ella, commit to yourself, trust yourself, and most importantly, trust life. Because replaying all the things that you think, blaming the person because she didn't do her job, it's not taking you anywhere. So I remember myself telling myself, hey, sweetie, literally, that's what's up. And you asked for a different life. You asked, you have been working for a life much more aligned with who you are. In order for the new to arise, the old has to die. Do you truly believe you're going to die from this? Or you're going to go back to your power and remember to recommit to yourself? So, funny enough, when I was in the middle of all of this, okay, I'm really summing up, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my course, my own course. And I have realized in that moment that I I have done the course and have worked on the course in the perfect time. And I have created the perfect course to recommit to myself. I didn't know that at the time, right? But I figured out this really quick. Whenever I decided to do my own course and I was looking at my own self, telling me how to deal with everything that I was feeling inside, simultaneously, I'm not even joking at this point. I was cursing, laughing, and crying. And I was like, cara, holy crap. Ella from the past knows how to leave this. Let me follow what she's saying. And I remember that the first class started with something more or less like this. Have you ever had your word turned upside down in an instant? Then the second thing that I think I said, are you struggling to realign with a big change in your life? No, seriously, I was looking at that course and I didn't know what else. I was like, gotta be fucking kidding me, man. Did you wish that your life was different in some aspect? And then I went on like being in this reality, in this physical body means that everything changes. This is the only constant in life, changes. However, whenever something happened to you, whatever happened to you is not going to change. What is going to change is how you respond to what has happened to you. Are you going to become like the person that did that to you, or you're gonna have rage towards that situation, or you're gonna look at that and say, okay, this happened, there's nothing I can do to change the past, this is what's happening right now, to accept what is happening right now. From now on, what have I learned, what can I do different? So this was more or less the first class of the thing. So while sobbing around my kitchen, my balcony, having insomnia and all these great things, I always reminded myself, I had to remind myself 1,000 times, Ella, recommit to yourself, but do not recommit to your old self. Grieve your old self. And that's going to hurt. All good. I'm peeling a layer of the onion. I'm going to cry about it. But I'm grieving my old soul, my old self. because now I am ready to commit to my true self, because that's what I want. I believe that I deserve to live the life with purpose, to live a life that is aligned with my heart and soul. And I'm the only one who have to believe. And by the way, do you think you believe every day? No, because your mind is so trained that I swear to you, I was thinking I was gonna die. Okay, so I had to remember myself reality. And I was like, Ella, are you really gonna die from this? No, this is not true. It's just hurting. Let it hurt. Cry it out the pain. Okay, now ready. What are you recommitting to? So I guess I gave you one example for you to understand how what it is to recommit to ourselves. My dogs are going nuts outside. Wait a second, guys. Uh, and then, okay, fasting forward a little bit, suddenly, and it was not in one instant. Remember that is a path. It's one day after taking one step at a time, one day at a time. At one point, my mind cleared. And that point of clarity, literally, like it was like I was looking at the sky and there was just one bright star shining, you know? And through all the stories of through all the storm of my emotions, you know, and somehow I was able to let go of all the stories and sadness about this story and bring myself, my full attention to the question, to this question. Ella, where are you recommitting to? So the point I want to make with this example and everything I told up to now is when we commit to ourselves, this does not mean that we are going to get a bypass. We're, I'm sorry. I'm going to need you 1 second to open this door. Come. Okay. Thanks so much. Okay. I'm going to repeat the most important point up to now and what I meant by this example. To commit with ourselves does not mean that we get a bypass on our emotions, or nor that we get a free, all problems go away instantly pass. We don't magically change into the perfect person we have been judging ourselves for not being. We don't miraculously change our reality. Okay? Once again, walking the path to the true self is a process, but it does start to committing to empower ourselves and to continuously ask ourselves and remind ourselves daily, what am I recommitting to? I am committed to my healing. I deserve better. Okay, and whenever we do this, don't underestimate this, because I know it's simple, but don't underestimate the power of this simple question, what am I recommitting to? I deserve better, has inside of us. Internally, we start opening space. And what happens when we start changing internally? We start realigning ourselves to our authentic power and holding ourselves in a new way. Therefore, we manifest a different reality. That is that simple. But it is a conscious choice to remind yourself when in pain, because when everything is fine, it's easy, right? The problem is when you are there. Okay, so okay, Ella, to the point, how can I attune to a new power? Okay, great. This is just tips, okay? As I said in the beginning, this is not absolute truths, but I guess we can get a lot of tips on how to start. So first of all, what are the old beliefs that we have? What is power? What is our old idea about power? Simple. By the way, that's what's come natural. And honestly, if we really look at it, should be probably we're all insane, because that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to tell you right now, and you're going to be like, this is insane. But that's what we do. So, anyways, when we watch television or read a magazine, what is reflected in the pictures? Well, Power is defined by how you look, how much money you make, who you're dating or who you're married to, and how you are progressing your career. That's what we consume. Magazine, television, social media, and etc. Right, Linda? um, and so it's natural for us because this is how we look at power and we think this that I just said is power. We don't realize that this point of view comes from a framework of fear and scarcity. Because we believe powerful people are the ones who have, in one way or another, acquired the most external things available. For example, money, fame, beauty. This comes from a perception, from a point of view of scarcity and fear. And many of us have spent years tied to this old model of power. Okay, we saw our worth regarding these things. Regarding, we perceive our worth attained, like with what the things we have attained. You know, as women, most of the times we worry about our body. Am I sexy enough? Am I fit enough? Do I dress nice enough? Or even about money and social status, you know, like, will I have the financial means? Will people take me seriously because of my career, of my work? Blah, blah, blah. We believe that whenever we are saying, and the crazy thing is, look, this is insane. We believe that when we have those things, we are going to feel great and have power. And then the craziest things happen, which is even though when we acquire some of the things of the outside, we still struggle with internal power. So what we do unconsciously create new goals and new things. And we keep believing that's going to make us feel powerful. That's going to make us feel happy. That's going to make us feel in peace. It's only when we begin to look at the old power structures in this way and saying this is an illusion, this is insane, that we can start connecting to ourself, to our true self, to love, to authenticity, and to the inner mystery of our life, to our true power, really. Because power then has nothing to do with money, fame, or any outside appearance, but it has to do with our connection to our own self. I will let you out. 1 second, meu amor. So remembering, how do we attune to new power? Well, first we need to unhook ourselves from old patterns and agreements that, by the way, even though you were not aware you're doing these agreements, now that you're hearing this talk, you are aware you're doing these agreements. So consciously, you're going to start creating new agreements and reconnect to your authentic center. Okay, so remember, becoming aware of where we have pursued old methods of power is not a call for more self-judgment. When you start realizing those things, do not judge yourself. That's not what we're doing here, but rather see as an opportunity to release the habits, this habit, and recommit to your true self. You are a divine being. You're pure light, your power. You're made, your true self is made to blossom, to share your soul's love. You, and I know you taste it, you can sense it, you feel it. I know you know you're glorious. So the invitation is, when we realize the external does not matter and that you are whole, you feel complete without the need of anyone. And that's when that sentence that I said in the beginning makes complete sense, which is, we are our own medicine. And the craziest thing is, whenever we start living this truth and from our authentic self, we are influencing everyone around us. And we are creating the life we want to create. So, one thing I want to tell you that is super important that I have talked in other talk in more depth. But for example, when we are trying to change a habit, right? Because you need to know, what is the life that I want to live? What do I want to commit to? Right? uh, I invited you in the other talk to understand one thing. We're not going to be always motivated. Motivation is it changes. It's like an emotion. It changes. We need to be disciplined. However, in order for us to reach something, somewhere we want to go, I have invited you to look at your own self. That's why the path of self knowledge is so important. Because if I simply look at someone I admire and I try to replicate what the other person is doing, this might not work for me because I don't know what her goals are, what her desires are, what her struggles are. Because our healing has everything to do with our resistance. So for example, if something is hard for you, something can be hard for you and something can be super hard for you. For any other person, it can be completely the opposite. So if you work with the tools that I share with you, okay, you do the healing, the journey of the true self, you're going to see that this one is going to be so easy for you to transmute, to choose differently. And maybe on this one, because you have this much resistance, you're going to take longer, but it's okay because every time you look at it, that start going, getting smaller, smaller, smaller. So it is so important that when you admire someone, say, okay, what do I admire about this person? Oh, I like that she really pays attention to the health of her body. I also like that she always makes sure she rests and not just work. I also like that she has authority on her job. I also like, so you say in that way, but you do not try to replicate that person's life. You have to look at your life and say, okay, that's what I admire. Second step, these are my goals. And now I'm going to create a path that I can follow in order to reach those goals one step at the time. And that path is going to be completely different from you and for me. Okay, so when I tell you, like right now in these talks, I'm giving you a lot of insights exactly for this reason, because the pain of people are different. You know, the resistance we have is different, correct? So we can always get these insights and put into work in our own life. However, uh, how much, like, look how complex the mind is, because our true self is pretty simple, but how complex our mind is. So that's why I'm gonna be able to be talking until I die, because every day I figure out something new about me. Imagine, and after a decade of working with people and learning and studying, I mean, it's endless. That's why it's a lifelong path. However, one thing that I want to share with you is I created this. I have this line of work that, yes, I'm sharing with you all of this so you can have what to work with, and I give a lot of tips that you can put into practice right away. However, there is a method, there is a way that I have used myself in order to be able to give one step and then the next step and leave literally from point A to point B, not be all over, like fixing little things in our lives. Because when we are just simply fixing a symptom or a situation that we believe is the problem, we are not really going to the root cause of the problem. That means we can even fix the situation. Like I said, the first example I gave here, I could fix the situation of the person not being organized with me. Guess what? At some point, I would feel something else because the problem is not truly the disorganization of the person. It's the pain that I feel not heard and not respected on my needs. That's the real pain. It's not about the organization. And that's how life teaches us, because it keeps showing us different situations, different people's, different everything, but the pain is the same. So whatever I propose with my work is we target all this pain, these symptoms, these effects separately. And we can deal with it because, sometimes we just have to deal with that thing. But if you want to have long-term results, you have to do this work. You have to understand and keep going deeper and deeper, peeling your onion to understand, that's where it hurts. And I'm going to focus on this because when I release this, I'm not going to have all the other symptoms. It's not going to happen anymore. I won't have to deal with the symptoms. Okay. I have been trying lately to stay and talk for 30 minutes, and I never can do that. I'm already 45 minutes here. So I want to thank you. I want to invite you to be here Thursday. We're going to be talking about an astrological aspect, Mercury retrograde on Thursday. So if you're interested of understanding what it's coming, how to prepare yourself, and so on, I'm going to be here on Thursday. And if you have time, you can go watch the talks that I mentioned here. It's 65, which is about the ego, how to transpose the ego. And then we have the 16 and 17 that are about our light and shadow. I think this can give us a really nice insights to understand how we start recommitting. Remember, it's not about the time, it's about reminding yourself, what am I committed to? I'm committed to my new life. What is that new life for me? What is the idea? What do I want? What do I believe I deserve living? Okay, so those were my invitations for today. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you Thursday. Bye bye.